Hey everyone, and welcome back to Cisco Packet Tracer Introduction course. Again, my name is Keith Gebhardt. Now, in the last lecture, we kind of spent a few minutes going over what Packet Tracer was, how to install it, what the benefits of using this type of application for our studying, is good for, and how it benefits us, and just some other minor details and information that, just really help you guys out learning and trying to understand this application and pursuing your studies as a Network Plus or CCNA certified associate, right? Now, in this lecture, we're going to spend a few minutes and kind of go over Cisco Packet Tracer's GUI, so the user interface. And Packet Tracer is pretty smooth. It's got a small learning curve, nothing tremendously difficult, but the experience, the user experience within Packet Tracer is quite simple, so we'll go over that. Now, it can be summarized into about 10 different little categories or panes within Packet Tracer that we really just got to bring our attention to. We have the menu bar, main toolbar, common tools bar, the logical physical workplace, the regular workspace, real-time simulation, network components, device type, the device-specific type, and then the user-created packet windows. So starting off up here, let's take a look at the regular menu bar. And this is just like any other application. You have your file, edit options, etc., etc. It's all pretty self-explanatory. You could create a new document, open new document, save documents, print, etc., etc. The save as PKZ, this is more or less if you're importing an image into your lab environment. We really don't do that too much, at least I don't. I've never really implemented that within Packet Tracer, so I'm not even going to really go over that. Another thing it's used for is if we create what's called an activity, and this is more or less for instructors only. So again, we're not going to be going over this together for two reasons. One, if you're new to networking, why are you creating activities? And two, if you're creating an activity for yourself, you're kind of knowing the answer, so it kind of defeats the purpose. Now, I do have a few courses available, for example, my Network Fundamentals course, and that will actually give you a few files like this one that you download. But in that course, I actually go over how to open it and how to work and navigate within the activity wizard. So we're not going to cover that in this one, simply because that's going to do you no good as getting started with Packet Tracer as an introduction and learning how to actually use the application. In edit, we have copy, paste, undo, redo. Your shortcut commands are still the same, just like in any other application. Options, preferences is probably the one that you should mainly be concerned with, which we'll cover in the next lecture. I'll show you some tricks to get started with that. You have a view, tools, extensions, and help, where you can see your version and about, tutorials, some issue-related things. So you're just your common menu bar, nothing crazy significant. In our main tools bar, we have, again, the same things. They're just more or less shortcuts for the commonly used things like opening a new project, opening an existing project, saving a project, printing out what you have on the screen. You have your copy, paste, undo, redo, zoom in, zoom out, reset the zoom. The color pane, which is for drawing different things on here, which we'll talk about here in a moment. And then we can go down to our common tools bar. We have an arrow, which is great for selecting multiple things or single things, a text box, a delete icon, a magnifying glass, which kind of goes into the device and shows you more detailed information, which I never use because it's more or less cheating and you need to learn your commands within the devices for your exams. So why use something that's not going to be available on your exam? It just wouldn't make sense. And again, you have to remember, this is a simulated environment. It's easy, it's nice for learning, but you're not going to have this type of environment in the real world. So it's only going to do you more harm when you keep taking all these different shortcuts. Circles and things you could draw, polygons or anything you want, really, rectangles, ellipses, and straight lines. And we're not going to really go into this. You could resize shapes, but it's not necessary. I mean, I use these for when I'm training. I don't know if you would want to use them or not, but the option's there for you. These are user set PDUs and advanced PDUs, which you could go into more advanced settings. But again, I don't really use these two. I use a different feature, which we'll cover here in a minute. Now you also have your logical workspace and your physical workspace, which is more or less similar to, let me zoom out here, which is like a topology. So if I go in here, here's a building. I could put the building wherever I want. Let's zoom out a little bit more. If I went into the corporate office, here's a network closet. Obviously, there's nothing in it because we don't have any network devices out here yet. But it would actually build a stacked environment, so it kind of makes it a little bit more realistic. Again, keeping in mind it's not realistic. This you could create right here, or in the logical interface. As soon as you start dragging devices in this workspace here, it'll populate that physical view for you. It just more or less gives you a more realistic conceptual view of how it would look in a network closet. Because you have to remember, when we build topologies and everything, like the topology you saw in the last lecture, they're not always going to look like that. You're not going to see those. You might have printed out documentation that you refer to, but other than that, you're going to have a list of devices. You need to know, okay, you can remote into these, but then you need to know the commands in the CLI on Cisco devices, how to figure out neighboring devices, how to figure out what devices are trunking, what devices are connected to different interfaces rather, ports, etc., that kind of thing. So we really don't use the physical view too often. I will show you guys a little bit about it moving forward, but for now, just know it exists, and with what I just showed you is basically what it is. It basically kind of puts your topology in a more of a geographically type situation, so you can see that better. Next, we go on to our real-time simulation. Now, this kind of simulates something like Packet Tracer, where if we capture network traffic, we could see, you know, for example, on an ICMP packet, which is your ping, we can see the source and destination information, source and destination MAC, IP information, the ports it's using, the protocol, the different details within that PU itself. And this is the version I like using over this, because in here we could actually watch the packet and trace it going through. So it just makes it a little bit more, you know, easier, not necessarily easier to understand really, but it puts it into a better perspective, so it just helps you make that much more sense of it. Then we have our network component boxes down here. So here we can see all network devices. We can see our end devices. So if I click or toggle between these two, you can see the devices, the specific devices will change. If I click this network devices, now I have down here sub devices, so I can go from a switch to a router to a hub to a wireless device, firewalls, and cloud services. Here's end devices, obviously your end devices for like an office setting, or your Internet of Things for home, small city type deals, industrial, and power grid. So different things of that nature. Here's your components for IoT things. These are, again, kind of like your Raspberry Pi boards if you bought those, playing with electronics. You have your cabling types, okay? Now, we'll go over this moving forward. Again, I'm just showing you where things exist. You have your automatic cable generator, which I highly recommend you guys do not get in the habit of doing. It will do you no favors, and you're not going to learn anything from using this. You could actually turn it off in the options section and preferences, but we'll cover that later. Your blue cables, you know, the standard for a console cable is always blue, so this is your console cable. By the way, take notice as I'm highlighting an icon down here in the center, it's showing you the name of it. So here would be a straight through cable. Here would be your crossover cable, your fiber, your phone line, some coaxial and serial cables. This one provides clocking, DCE, DTE. Remember, DCE is the side that provides the clocking. We really don't ever concern ourselves with this because our service providers provide clocking to us, right? But we could emulate a service provider network environment, and then we would utilize something like that. Here we have some optical cables, and then some Internet of Everything devices, such as your Internet of Things, your SBC boards, your card readers, your cameras, and things of that nature. So that is the workspace that we will be working in, and it's quite simple. And in the next lecture, I'm going to show you how to actually start navigating around here a little bit more. We're going to start looking at how we bring devices into the map, how we could manipulate different features on each device. We're going to show you how to use some more of these tools over here in your topology, and then we'll show you how to actually set up a little network just so we could see a packet being simulated through here before we continue through this course. All right, guys, I will see you in the next one.